Welcome to the Bay. We're at that point again, tackling the choice that really defines a high-end PC build. Do you go for the absolute top of the mountain performance with something like the RTX 5090? Or do you make the smarter, more balanced play with the still amazing RTX 4080? Let's break down which one is actually right for your rig. So you're deep in the planning stages for your next 4K powerhouse. And you've hit that fork in the road, haven't you? Do you go all in on the shiny new flagship, basically guaranteeing you're set for years to come? Or do you pick the more efficient option that, let's be honest, still absolutely crushes today's games? Yeah, let's figure this out together. Okay, so let's just cut right to the chase. Here's the deal. The RTX 5090, that's for the builder who wants zero compromises. We're talking of the best native 4K performance and enough VRAM to feel safe for years. The RTX 4080, though, that's for the smart builder, the one who wants a top-tier experience without that crazy flagship price tag and power draw. It's really pure, untamed power versus intelligent, high-end practicality. Now, let's get to the main event, the part you've all been waiting for, the 4K showdown. We're going to look at the raw numbers and see just how big the gap is when we crank all the settings to ultra. And I really want to be crystal clear about this. The difference we're talking about isn't small. At 4K, where your GPU is doing all the heavy lifting, the performance gap between these two cards is, well, it's massive. This isn't just some tiny incremental step, it's a completely different class of performance. And hey, the numbers don't lie. Just take a look at this data. In a game like Cyberpunk 2077, with all the ray tracing eye candy, the 5090 is cruising at 120 FPS, while the 4080 gets a very respectable 75. But then you look at a competitive shooter like Warzone, and that gap widens to a staggering 320 versus 200 FPS. This isn't just a small bump. It literally dictates what kind of high refresh rate monitor you can even take advantage of. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Cyberpunk benchmark. See, this isn't just about getting more frames. It's about crossing a critical threshold. 75 FPS on the 4080 is very, very playable. But 120 FPS on the 5090, that's a high refresh rate dream. It's the difference between a smooth experience and a truly fluid, almost surreal next-gen one. And this quote just nails the real-world feeling behind those numbers. With the 4080, you might find yourself needing to lean on DLSS to keep a rock-solid frame rate at 4K Ultra. But with the 5090, you move into a world where native 4K just works beautifully, no compromises needed. And that right there is a huge leap in the overall experience. But hey, performance is way more than just raw frame rates, right? So let's move on and look at the features. The architecture, the memory, all the tech that really determines if your GPU is built to last. Is it actually future-proof? So here you have it, the tale of two architectures. The 5090 is built on the brand new Blackwell architecture, and that brings next-gen goodies like DLSS 4 and a massive 32 gigs of super-fast GDDR7 memory. The 4080 is on the proven Ada architecture, with the already great DLSS 3 and a still very healthy 16 gigs of GDDR6X. And believe me, that VRAM difference is going to be a huge part of this story. For the RTX 5090, that 32 gigabytes of VRAM makes it the undisputed headroom king. This isn't just about today's games. It's about peace of mind for tomorrow's massive 4K texture packs, for going crazy with mods, and for whatever comes next in ray tracing. It's about buying comfort for the long, long haul. The RTX 4080, though, it's the efficient powerhouse. Its 16 gigs is still plenty for pretty much any game you can throw at it right now. And its much lower power draw means it's easier to cool and quieter to run. You get access to mature, game-changing tech like DLSS 3 frame generation without needing to completely rebuild your system around it. Okay, let's talk about the part of the builds that can hurt the most. The real-world costs. And I'm not just talking about the price on the box. I'm talking about the ripple effect this one choice has on your entire rig. First up, the sticker shock. We are looking at a typical price difference of around $800. That is not pocket change. I mean, that's enough to buy a whole other high-end component, like a new CPU or killer monitor. It's a serious investment for that top-tier performance. And it's not just your wallet that pays the price. It's your power supply. The 5090 is pulling a massive 575 watts. Compare that to the 4080, which sips a much more reasonable 320. That 255 watt difference has major implications for your whole build. Because think about it, that extra power draw means you need a bigger, more expensive power supply. We're talking a high-quality 1,000 watt unit for the 5090 versus a pretty common 750 watt for the 4080. It also means you need a case with fantastic airflow to get all that extra heat out. See, this one choice affects literally everything else. So with all that on the table, how in the world do you decide? Well, it all comes down to your personal build philosophy. We gotta match the hardware to the builder. So ask yourself, which of these sounds like you? Are you the no-compromise builder who just has to have maxed out native 4K no matter what? Or are you the practical gamer who wants a fantastic experience without the extreme cost? Are you buying for the next 5 years? Or do you really value a quiet, cool running system? This is where you decide which port to call home. If you are that no-compromise builder, that future-proof strategist, the RTX 5090 is your destination. It is the ultimate harbor for raw performance. But if you value practical power and an efficient, quiet rig, then the RTX 4080 is the perfect, safe harbor to anchor your build. So which harbor will you choose? The answer says a whole lot about what you value in a PC build. For an even deeper dive and more data, be sure to check out the full analysis over at bestgpusforgaming.com. Until next time, keep it cool and keep building.